Bada boom, bada bang, bada bop. We are back today and I'm bringing you the top 5 long run workouts that I have done to improve my marathon time. I've actually improved my marathon time from 3 hours and 19 minutes all the way down to a 2 hour and 39 minute time, and I'm training for a sub 2:30 right now. And these are workouts you can do to improve your marathon time. Now, if you are looking for either a new shoe for marathon training and to save money on running shoes, or you're looking for training insights, or you're looking for a group of people to help you stay accountable, motivated, stacking and racking miles during marathon training, get in with us on the Supwell app. This video is brought to you by the Supwell app because it's my app. It's the best buy, sell, and trade marketplace out there for running shoes, and it's the best community. So not only can you get a great deal on a shoe like the Adidas Evo SL, one of the most popular shoes right now. I see them go up all the time, or maybe even the Asics Mega Blast. I saw a Mega Blast go up from my friend Midlife Runner for under $200 on the app. I think it was a size 9.5. But we also have a great supportive community. You can ask any questions. For example, you could say something like, how could I modify one of these workouts that he put for my training? And somebody will answer you. And you could just connect with other people who've been where you are. So if you're looking to take your running to a savage level, everyone always wants to say, oh, take your training to the next level. No, if you want to take your training to a low level, a lower, grimier, more disgusting, socially irresponsible level, get in with us on the Supwell app and enjoy today's video. Bandana around my head like I'm Tupac. A lot of people don't know that Future paid homage. Future paid homage to Tupac in 2014 on the album Monster. It's a true story. It's a true story. R.I.P. Tupac. You know what they did to Tupac? They assassinated him. They took him out, man. And a lot of people thought that I was assassinated. People thought that I was taken out. There were different theories that maybe I was replaced by a clone from my work trip. People were going to call the Mint Hill Police Department because I didn't have the long run video up yesterday. And I actually had an explanation about the missing long run video yesterday, but I decided to delete it because we're going with the low IQ content strategy right now, which means no excess talking, no humor, no anything else related or not related to the topic of the video. So if the video is something about 5 best plated super trainers, then every single word of the video needs to be related to a plate, why a shoe is the best, and just general super trainer material. So I had to delete the entire beginning of the video where I was talking about how I woke up with a sore throat. I maybe had some sort of a low-grade fever situation. I was around my daughter for the past 2 weeks. She had actually lost her voice, and if you watched the video where we were out in the North Carolina mountains, you saw she was sick. She lost her voice. She wasn't talking for dang near a week. And then I got dropped in the middle of the Berkshires with my company, and people turn up to this company retreat in all sorts of bad ways, just sneezing everywhere, sniffling, coughing. This one girl talking about how she's been popping Sudafed. And I said, bro, I'm trying to be in peak shape right now. I'm trying to do a high level athletic feat, running a sub 2:30 marathon, and you're over here taking drugs just to make it through this team building activity. So that was a tough sitch for me. I came back to Mint Hill. I got through a 22-mile day on Friday. I was also just complaining through that entire video. So I thought, okay, it's Sunday. I feel like absolute garbage. I don't even know if I can make it through this 20 piece, but I have to, because I will literally not miss a long run unless I'm dead or have some sort of serious ailment relating to my legs. I've never missed a long run in my life, so I'm not going to start now. I've gosh dang run long runs through COVID. I literally have done multiple long runs personally having COVID. I've done long runs in the middle of tsunami type storms. I've done long runs on every single day of the week. I've had to do long runs on the treadmill. I've done them in multiple states. We don't miss the gosh dang long run. So people legitimately thought I was taking out like Tupac because we didn't have a long run video. But here's the thing about the long run. What's more important? Getting the 20 piece or doing the video? They're both important to me, but I knew that I just needed to get the 20 piece, and we're doing the low IQ content strategy right now. So we're just trying to keep the videos short. I might have to cut out this entire intro as well, because I've just been talking a lot about yesterday. That's the other thing with the low IQ content strategy. You can't talk about yourself at all. You only have to talk about the topic of the video. So topic of the video today, 5 long runs to improve your marathon time. And I thought this was so timely. I had one of the worst long runs yesterday. It actually wasn't one of the worst, but yeah, I woke up feeling sick, not feeling great, and I'm actually just trying to get this. Here's the thing, low IQ content strategy. We might need to improve. I am trying to improve the quality of my video. I actually DM'd Floberg. He gave me some tips. I might be getting a new camera set up here. I think that will also improve the appeal of the channel. But yesterday, very tough long run, but I don't skip long runs. And I was thinking, what are those key long runs you could do to improve your marathon time? And the number one thing is not sexy. And this is probably why my videos don't go viral, because all I talk about is consistency, putting in the work, consistent mileage over time. And if you look at any of these top respected coaches, man, the Steve Magnuses of the world, Jack Daniels, RIP, a lot of what the foundation of the system is built on is consistency, man. And specifically with someone like Steve Magnus, I really like the stuff he puts out, because he does do different analyses on workouts you can do and the Norwegian style of training, etc. But he always brings it back to, man, you got to be running consistently, volume over time. So that's it, and that is the foundation. So let's kick it off with the first best long run you could do to improve your marathon time. And I'm going to call this the 16 by 16, and it's not actually one long run. It is a series of long runs, and this is something that I've personally done. I will never recommend anything on this channel that I have not personally done. So I did this a few years ago, and this is what I think number one thing that I could attribute to taking me from a 3:19 marathoner. Maybe I'll make the thumbnail one of those things where, you have your old marathon time and your new marathon time, because that seems to appeal to a lot of people. I'm gonna have to cut this out. 16 weeks of 16-mile long runs. I did this a few years ago. Number one thing that I can attribute to taking 40 minutes off my marathon time, now going for taking 50 minutes off my marathon time because I'm training for a sub 2:30. And what this is consistently doing one length of long run that is moderately challenging but not too challenging for the same number of weeks as the long run. So for me, I did 16 weeks straight of 16-mile long runs. And this is the thing. You might be running when you're sick. You might be running when you don't feel good and you have a minor injury. And this is the thing, man. I will never say that you should do anything that I have not done, and this is not for everybody, but I also think to become really good at the marathon, to master the marathon and to progress, you got to push yourself. You got to push yourself. And a lot of the current philosophy is mileage doesn't matter. Mileage isn't everything. You need balance. No, that makes me sick. I can't tell you how many times I've seen on Instagram these guys. You know these guys I'm talking about, the sub 3 guys with the perfectly chiseled abs and the sculpted biceps, and they're all talking about you don't need to run a lot of miles for a good marathon time. I've even had some of these guys comment on my stuff, and then I'll look at their profile, these coaches, and it'll say something like they have their marathon PR listed in their bio, of course. I should probably do that too on my personal page to get more credibility. But it'll say something like 2:57 marathon. And I'm not putting down a 2:57 marathon, but you know what the difference is between a 2:57 marathon and a 2:39 marathon? Mileage! That's it. That is it, right? I ran a 3:19 after a few years of training. I ran a 2:39 after a few more years of training and increasing the mileage. I didn't do any magic workout. So the 16 weeks of 16-mile long runs, or if we can scale it down for you, maybe 8 weeks of 8-mile long runs to start out. And guess what? If the idea of doing a 16-mile long run scares you, then that means you gotta progress before you should be thinking about doing a marathon PR. You should be able to clip off 16-mile long runs consistently if you want the chance of running a strong marathon. That's not to say that you can't run a marathon or complete a marathon without doing a 16-miler or a 20-miler, but you should be able to get a few solid 16-milers under your belt to run a strong marathon. So 16 by 16, that is an absolutely brutal way to spend 4 months, especially during the summer, but it builds endurance, of course. And for most people, if you're doing this, you're likely going to be running at 7-minute pace, 8-minute pace, 9-minute pace, which will put you over 2 hours. So you'll get the glycogen conservation benefits. You'll teach your body how to conserve glycogen. You'll get endurance. You'll build the strength. You'll build fatigue resistance, and you'll build mental toughness, man. Being able to get out there every Saturday or every Sunday and know, man, I have to do 16. I'm not feeling it. I had a tough week. Who cares? Nobody cares. I don't feel sorry for you. You're not going to feel sorry for yourself. Well, you might, but you'll also feel a great sense of accomplishment at the end of it. And if you can make it through that gauntlet in one piece, you're going to build yourself into a strong marathon runner. So not for everybody. If you do want to get a workout for everybody, go to Instagram and find one of these guys who's talking about you don't need to run a lot of mileage to run a marathon. All right, next one. I have them on my phone here. Number 4, overtime. We're calling this baby overtime. So this is one that you can do if you are I think sub 4 hour marathoner. And I've never run a 4-hour marathon. My longest marathon is 3 hours and 19 minutes. The longest run I've ever done actually is 4 hours and 15 minutes. So this is the thing. I can only speak from my perspective. I don't know what it feels like to do a 5-hour marathon. I don't know what it feels like to do a 6-hour marathon. And this is one that I would only suggest if you are in the 3-something marathon range, because the stress of it is going to be really high if you're longer. Anyway, this is called overtime. So very simple. It's in the name. You will do a long run over the time of your goal marathon PR. So if you're going for a 250 marathon, you got to run for 3 hours. For me, going for a 229 marathon, most of my runs at a relaxed pace. My long runs like yesterday are overtime. My long run yesterday was actually 2 hours and 49 minutes. Now, a lot of the coaches out there will suggest capping your long runs at 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is a good idea most of the time. And if you're doing that 16 by 16 that I just suggested, or any other sort of consistency with the long run, you'll likely be hitting 2 hours, 2:15, 2:30. That's the practical end of the long run. However, sometimes you have to be irrational when training. You have to go dummy. You have to go, you have to do things that are not by the book sometimes, and it's good to occasionally go over distance, go over time. And coaches, older school coaches like Lydiard have suggested this. I found this to be a huge part of marathon success for me personally, going longer than the time I'm going to be out there. So last year I actually did a 27-mile long run, which is both over time and over distance. But for most people out there, you can achieve this by doing a relaxed long run at a 22-mile distance or 23-mile distance. So even a 20-mile distance, depending on how relaxed you're going. So this is, again, going to build the endurance. It's going to prepare your body to run that. And your body actually doesn't know the distance that you're going. It just knows the time that you're going. So this is all about time on feet, getting comfortable with the distance, and again, the glycogen conservation. And running these at a relaxed pace will keep the recovery stress low. Now, different people respond differently to intensity when it comes to speed, and I don't even want to call it intensity, but more of the monotonous grind type of stress of a long run. So for me, I know I could bounce back super quickly from a 3-hour long run. For example, yesterday I ran 2 hours, 49 minutes at a relaxed pace, and then this morning I'm coming out with a 12-mile run, and I'm running some miles down at 7:30, 7:15, just feeling fine, right? Other people, that type of a run might lay you under for a few days. So it's up to you to know where to sequence this, when to put it in your training, and also whether or not it's even a good idea to do this. I would recommend doing it once or twice in a block, especially if you're going for sub 3:30, sub 3:15. The faster you're getting, the more important it is to do these higher stress long runs, right? When you're further back in the beginning of your marathoning journey, you can do less to get more. But the more consistently we've been doing it, if we have done 16 weeks of 16-mile long runs, we now need to add intensity into those runs to get benefits, or we need to go longer to get benefits. Your body adapts. That's the whole thing with adaptations, and what was hard before, or what was a stress to your body before, becomes normal, right? So whereas 2 or 3 summers ago, I think 3 summers ago when I was doing 2 summers ago when I was doing the 16 by 16, that felt hard to me. That was a big challenge. Now I could pop out any day of the week and throw down a 16 piece. Boys talking about mileage isn't important. Stop it. Next one of my personal favorites, number 3, 4x2 miles. So as I was just saying, once you get the distance under your belt, it is super important for the marathon that you treat the long run as a race simulation and start to build in the marathon intensity into that. So the number 1 most important thing for the the number 2 most important thing for the marathon is running miles at race pace. The number 1 most important thing for the marathon is mileage. And guess what? All of the mileage that we run supports being able to run for longer at race pace. So those 2 things work together. And when I do things like a 10-mile threshold workout or a 16-mile tempo at race pace, I'm only able to do that because I run 100 plus miles per week. If you're running 40 miles a week, you can't do that. So 4x2 miles, this is one of my favorites when it comes to marathon training, long run workouts. And the benefit of this one and the beauty of this one is that you can do the rests however you want them. And depending on where you are at the cycle, say you don't even have a marathon on the calendar, but you just want to remind your body what it feels like to run marathon pace, which is what I did in the winter. Back when I was in the pain block, you could do 2x2 miles with 2-mile recoveries in between. Or if you're closer in to the race, you could do them with 2-minute recoveries in between, or you could do it with 1-mile recoveries in between, or you could do 3x2 miles, right, to keep the stress lower. So this is a highly flexible workout, but I found that the 2-mile working sessions are nice because it's long enough where you can start to get a rhythm with the marathon pace. And for me, marathon pace is so much about getting into that rhythm and finding the flow. I really benefit from just working and chipping away and being out there for a longer time. And even this morning, I wasn't at marathon pace. I was just going in the 7s, but I found that at the end of the run, I felt better than the beginning. So sometimes for me, I'm the type of runner where just being out here and working more consistently, I can get the efficiency benefits and the running economy benefits. So doing 1-mile repeats at marathon pace, you're not really going to get the same benefits. And then based on how you toggle up or down those resting periods, it can be a higher or lower aerobically stressful workout. So if you want the aerobic stress of the workout to be higher, keep the recoveries shorter. The heart rate will stay elevated for longer. Your breathing will be higher for longer. Or if you want to recover and have it more be about the feeling of marathon pace, and that's a big thing for me with marathon workouts and just with this sub 230 that I've been training for, a lot of it was about the mechanical feeling of running at a faster than 540 pace. So a lot of the time I didn't care so much about the heart rate and getting it elevated, especially because with the mileage I run, my aerobic system is super strong. For the first part of this block for me, a lot of what I was focused on was just making it feel more natural to run that pace. So I didn't want it to be super aerobically stressful. That's what threshold's for. That's what running the 20 plus mile long runs are for, the aerobic fitness. I wanted these marathon pace workouts to be more about the feeling of actually physically moving my legs and having the pattern of what the marathon felt like, right? So keeping the recoveries longer will do that. So you could be fully recovered if you do 2-mile or 1-mile recoveries in between those working sessions. And then on those 2 miles, just focus on what the legs feel like, what the arms feel like, what your lower back feels like, what the abs feel like, what your calves feel like. And you can also use your marathon shoe during these workouts to get a better feel for that as well. So 4x2 miles, that's what I would suggest for if you're sub 3 marathon fitness, and then you can scale up or down based on where you are. Again, this is not I think with the internet, everyone wants things spelled out for them. But guess what? Marathon training is like life. There's no instruction manual. You got to figure it out on your own. Actually, there are instruction manuals. They're called training plans, but you still have to change it, man. This is the thing about marathon training. You have to adapt and you have to change. Even if you follow the exact thing or you have an exact plan, it's not going to work out if you try to follow every day. If you have every day mapped out for 4 months and you try to follow it exactly, that is a recipe for disaster, because whoever wrote the plan or whoever automatically AI generated the plan, whatever app it is, it doesn't know what day your kids are sick. It doesn't know when you have work trips. It doesn't know what the weather is, right? So you have to be able to adjust and adapt. And same thing with the workouts. You will become a much better runner when you know how to adjust and adapt the workouts on the day of based on how you're feeling. You will become a much better runner when you're able to do that. Otherwise, you're just blindly following, and that's a recipe for getting injured or overtraining. Or on the other side, maybe you're fitter than the plan suggests, and then you're not getting the most out of yourself. So learning not just how to change the recoveries, but when to move things around and when to adapt is a huge part of marathon training. All right, next one. RIP Jack Daniels. So I'm calling this workout RIP Jack Daniels, legendary running coach. He passed away 2 weeks ago, age 92. He was a PhD. He was one of the guys who pioneered exercise science when it comes to running and distance running. He did tons of testing on people. He created this system called the VDOT system, which it takes your VO2 max and it converts it based on your race paces into what your training paces should be. And it's also cool because if you ran, say, a 20-minute 5K, it will say these are the other performances you're capable of, and this is the type of training that you should be doing. And then he's also the guy who pioneered what's called VO2 max, the velocity at VO2 max. And a lot of his work suggests that it's not just the VO2 max. So VO2 max is the volume of oxygen that your body can process. I'm freestyling off the top of my head here. It's essentially how efficient you are at processing oxygen and how much oxygen you use running at a certain pace. The velocity at VO2 max is the pace when your body is able to process the most oxygen. It's the concept of diminishing returns, right? Once you start running faster, you're not going to be processing any more oxygen, and then you'll just be slowing down. For most people, it's a pace between the 10 and 15 minute race pace, which for an elite would translate to a 5K race pace or maybe a 3K race pace. The other thing that Jack Daniels pioneered, which is not related to the exercise science and is the biggest thing that I have learned from him, and I'm so indebted, the 16 by 16 mile thing, I think that went hand in hand with the same time just reading and rereading that Daniels book over and over, the Daniels running formula. Man, I barely ever travel without that thing. It's always on my nightstand. I pull my workouts from it. I don't really deviate from his system ever. I've added tweaks to it, but most of my philosophy is based on that. And the number one thing I've gotten is these just savage long run workouts. And when I talk about doing 10 miles at threshold, when I do these 16-mile tempos, it's because of Jack Daniels. That's the Daniels system. And a lot of people now have gotten away from that. I'm trying to bite my tongue here, but I think people have gotten slightly soft when it comes to marathon training. And Jack Daniels, his system is so tough and nothing prepares you better. And I think people want marathon training to be easy. And last year, when I was running the Chicago Marathon, people said he overtrained. He's going to show up overcooked. And guess what? I ran at 2:39. Did I fade in the back half? No. I actually got stronger in the back half. So if you do these challenging workouts, and I'll tell you what the workout is in a second, it will prepare you so well for the marathon. But the key is understanding your personal limitations. Not everyone can do a 16-mile race pace tempo, and especially if you are running at slower paces, if you're running 9-minute, 10-minute, 11-minute race paces, no, it's not good to try to do a 16-mile tempo. But the Daniels system was designed for elite, right? And I've adapted it. That's the difference between what I do. I've adapted it so that hobby joggers can understand it, and so that when I was running a 3-hour marathon, not a 2:20 marathon, I was still able to use it and get benefit from it. But there were times when I was doing these workouts at a 6:50 pace or a 7 flat pace, whereas they were designed to be done at a 4:50 pace. And yeah, that's a lot of stress, but it also whipped me into shape. So the workout here that I'm going to give you today, the RIP Jack Daniels, this is one of my favorites, modifying it slightly, but it's 2 by 6 miles at marathon pace, 1 mile at threshold, unbroken. So it's a 14-mile tempo where you go 6 marathon, 1 threshold, 6 marathon, 1 threshold. Absolutely brutal. If you can nail this with the paces exactly as they should be done, and the threshold pace you can take about 12 to 15 seconds faster than your goal marathon pace. If you can nail this, you're in really good shape. It's likely that if you're giving your all in this workout in training in the middle of a peak week, your second set of marathon pace probably going to be slower. You might be fading in the back half. You might not hit that threshold mile in the middle as hard as you want to. You might hit that threshold mile at the end closer to marathon pace, but it doesn't really matter. This is one of those mental toughness workouts, and it's just designed to make you go through it, man. His workouts are the gauntlet every time. They put you through a lot of pain. They make you go through it. They build a ton of fitness, and they develop that mental toughness. That's why I love it, man. A lot of people are trying to science their training. There's a science to it, yes, but there's also an art to it. It's called the art of pain. And these boys just drawing stick figures. Jack Daniels was the Picasso of pain, man. So yeah, these are tough workouts that he does. You can go through any of the workouts in his book, the long run workouts, especially if you look at the 80 plus miles per week. And I pull all my long run workouts from his 100 plus mile a week section, and there'll be things like 14 mile at marathon pace, 90 minutes at marathon pace. And they're not for everyone. They're tough, and they do take some time to recover from. But if you work up to them and you build your mileage, they will turn you into a beast marathon runner. And that's the whole thing with this. It's about the consistency over time. And once you develop the consistency, once you develop that bed and that base, then you can layer on the intensity. But you have to do the 10 by 10 first. You have to do the 16 by 16 first, or whatever your version is. Take a week off if you need to. But if you really want to become a strong marathon runner, and here's the other thing here. I'm looking at the time. I got a meeting soon. If you don't have a track background, it's even more important. So people approach this from 2 different sides, right? Some people come from a track background, so they have 10 plus years of running. A lot of people running sub 230 marathons, they have that track background, and they've been doing tempos at a 540, 520 pace for years. I never ran a 520 mile until last year, probably, right? So there's 2 different sides. If you're a hobby jogger who doesn't have the historical decade plus of training at intensity, and you don't have the tens of thousands or thousands of lifetime miles under your belt, it's even more important to get that aerobic volume up first. And I think that's what's missed so often in the conversation about mileage. And when you see these guys on YouTube too, talking about you don't need to run 100 miles a week to run a sub 240 marathon. Yeah, because you ran in college and you have the decade plus of experience. So it's going to be different from everyone. But if you are a hobby jogger without the decade plus of experience, man, pounding the pavement consistently, getting that volume up, learning what you can do to stay injury free, and running a high volume of your miles relaxed. That's what allows me to do this as well, the relaxed miles, and then strategically adding in the savagery. That's what the Daniel system is. It's scientific, strategic savagery that will turn you into a beast. All right, I got a meeting. We're gonna have to finish this last one in a bit. I'll be back. Talking smack till I die. I feel like Hulk Hogan. They want a short video. Their light bulb's broken. Boys in the comments breathing with their mouth open. They all my sons, like a busted Trojan. Don't play with me. They thought I died. Really, I was just plotting on more ways to kill them. Ah! Had to throw on Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill because they thought I died. Hold up, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished. All right, last one here. Last long run you should try to improve your marathon time. Last 6 go. That's what it's called. Last 6 go. Or you could do a last 5 go, or a last 4 go, or a last 3 go. You could even do a last 10 go. But the concept of this one is you do your normal long run at whatever pace you would typically do a long run at, or you could even do it faster. You could do it at a steadier pace, get some more junk in your legs, get the breathing up to add to the difficulty. Or you could do something like a threshold workout at the beginning. This is one that I've actually done a lot. So you do 4 miles of threshold at the beginning. So something like 2 by 2 miles with 2-minute recovery in between. And then at the end, you do the last 6 at a threshold or at a marathon pace. That's a really tough way to do it. But the way I'd recommend for most people, do a 20-mile long run or an 18-mile long run. I don't know why I keep trying to make it shorter for people. Do a gosh dang 20-mile long run, man. If you want to run a marathon, do a 20-mile long run. If you want to run a strong marathon, Anyway, do your long run. Last 6 at marathon pace. It sounds simple, and it is simple, but it's not particularly easy to do this, especially because your legs are going to be tired and you're not going to have cut the mileage. And if you do any sort of intensity at the beginning, another way you could do it is something like 2 by 2 miles at marathon pace in the beginning and then the last 6 at marathon pace at the end. But why I like it is because it teaches you, again, that mechanical feeling of running at marathon pace. And the whole theme here is you blend the science part. So, of course, we got to practice running at marathon pace to get the heart rate where it needs to be and to get more efficient at running at that pace to improve our running economy. And that was one of the things that Jack Daniels pioneered as well, the whole concept of running economy. His theory was that the 3 variables that determine how fast we could race were VO2 max, so our oxygen processing, running economy, so how efficient we are at a certain pace, and then our lactate threshold, our speed of lactate threshold. So this is a workout that targets running economy, and for me, I think it's just super important for the marathon. You could do lactate threshold this, you could do lactate threshold that, but I really believe that you have to run a lot of miles at marathon pace to get more efficient at marathon pace. Run as many miles as you can, and then run as many of those miles as possible at marathon pace. It's not about track workouts. You could run track workouts till the cows come home, but unless you're grinding out big sets of marathon pace in the long runs, you're likely not going to be finishing the back half of the marathon strong. And there's all these expressions, the marathon doesn't start till mile 20, etc., etc. A lot of people can run 16 miles strong. A lot of people could run 20 miles strong. Not a lot of people can run 26.2 miles strong. It's really hard, man. It's my first 2 marathons, I was fading in the back half, but consistently doing the long runs and then consistently running with intensity at the end of those long runs, that's what will turn you into a marathon beast. I ordered lunch. I haven't eaten anything. That might be why I'm stumbling over my words. So those are the 5 long runs to try to improve your marathon time. Let me know which ones of these you've tried. Let me know which one you're excited to try. Let me know which one you are scared to try. And if I am wrong or you think you're smarter than me, let me know why in the comments. And then also let me know your weekly mileage, what workouts you've been doing in your marathon PR time. Because this is the thing about the internet. Anybody could say anything. And then I'll ask them, hey, what's your Strava link? Let me check it out because I have time to check out what you're doing. And then most of the time they just won't reply. Or I'll ask them, this is a new thing on Instagram, this list is terrible. Okay. How many of these shoes have you tried? My favorite was today. Somebody said, oh, the Skechers Aero Burst over the Vomero Plus. That's laughable. That's LOL. Okay. How many miles have you put in both? 0 in the Skechers Aero Burst. That's what I'm saying about the internet, man. So a lot of people can type comments. Same people are doing 10-mile long runs. Probably never ran a marathon in their life. So get your mileage up. Put the phone down. Unless you're supporting, you could keep typing supporting comments. I'm back. I told you, I'm going to talk smack till I die. I feel like Hulk Hogan. boys in the comments breathing with their mouth open. It's going nowhere. It's going nowhere. Yesterday, I was just out, but guess what? I still dropped 20. It was a bad week. I was traveling state to state, and I still put up 100 miles a week. This is what people aren't understanding. We're hunting for mileage. It's the blood, sweat, and mileage mentality. I don't think it's really sinking into people, but when we drop that sub 230, maybe it will sink in. It's sinking in for some people. Anyway, the grind continues, man. We're back up in the hill, getting active. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I appreciate you. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. I already told you. I'm like a cockroach. I'm like a cockroach. Barefoot Mafia tried to take me out. Bro, I told you I don't run through COVID. I've run through 100 degrees. And that's a true story, the COVID story. I literally dropped 16-mile long run with COVID. I was on the Cape. It was a few years ago. It was terrible. Yesterday, running through sickness. This thing people don't understand. Everyone always wants to say, take it easy. You gotta have balance. Nah. We off that, man. Society has gone soft. We need standards. You don't need balance. You need grind. Don't play with me. Back up in this thing. You can't kill me.